As it, what comes out? Orange juice. Not because you demanded it, not because you wished it, but because that is what was inside all along. In the same way, when life squeezes you during periods of waiting, when opportunities delay, when relationships stall, when answers seem suspended, what comes out of you? Is it fear? Is it resentment? Is it doubt? Or can it be faith? Can it be patience? Can it be the deep knowing that you are more than your circumstances? The waiting does not create your character, it reveals it. And if impatience flows out of you, it is simply showing you where healing is still required. This is not a cause for shame. It is an invitation for awareness. You see, the ego defines you by what you have achieved, what you possess, how quickly you succeed. But your spiritual identity is not rooted in outcomes. You are not a human being trying to earn divine approval. You are a divine being having a human experience. You are already connected to the source from which all blessings flow. And if that is true, then what could possibly be missing? If you are an extension of the same intelligence that paints sunsets and shapes mountains, then how could your life be an accident? The waiting is not evidence of abandonment. It is evidence that something unseen is aligning on your behalf. Consider the ocean. On the surface, waves crash and churn. There is noise and motion and turbulence. But descend just a few feet beneath, and you enter stillness. Go deeper, and there is profound calm. Your ego lives at the surface, reacting to every ripple. Your soul dwells in the depths, anchored in eternal peace. When you are waiting for something, a breakthrough, a healing, a partner, a calling, you can choose where you reside. Will you live at the surface, tossed about by each passing thought? Or will you sink into the depths of your being, where trust is natural and surrender is effortless? Surrender is not weakness. It is strength beyond comprehension. The ego believes surrender means defeat, but surrender, in spiritual truth, means alignment. It means saying, I release my need to dictate the how and the when. I choose to align with the wisdom that sees beyond my limited view. When you cling tightly to your own agenda, you contract. When you release, you expand. And expansion is your natural state. The universe itself is expanding. Life is forever unfolding into more. Why would your path be any different? There are moments in life when you pray for immediate answers. You plead for clarity. You beg for signs. And sometimes the response is silence. But silence is not absence. Silence is sacred. It is in silence that intuition whispers. It is in silence that guidance arises. If every request were granted instantly, you would never develop the spiritual muscles of patience and faith. Waiting stretches you. It refines you. It teaches you to find contentment not in the arrival, but in the journey itself. Ask yourself gently, who would I be if I trusted completely? Who would I be if I believed that every delay carried hidden wisdom? The ego says, I will relax when it happens. The soul says, relax now, because it is already unfolding. The ego postpones peace. The soul embodies peace. And peace is not the result of circumstances aligning perfectly. Peace is the recognition that even when circumstances are unclear, you are eternally supported. You are not waiting for your life to begin. Your life is happening now. The divine is not withholding your good. The divine is weaving it together in ways your finite mind cannot yet comprehend. Think of the sky. Clouds may gather and obscure the sun, but the sun does not disappear. It remains shining steadily, whether you can see it or not. In the same way, God's grace is constant. Your inability to perceive it does not negate its presence. Your waiting is like the cloudy sky, temporary, shifting, passing, but the light behind it is eternal. There are no accidents in timing. What arrives too early would overwhelm you. What arrives too late would no longer serve you. There is a divine choreography at work, synchronizing events, people, and opportunities with impeccable precision. When you trust this, anxiety loosens its grip. You no longer need to force doors open. You no longer need to manipulate outcomes. You can simply show up, aligned and open, ready to receive what is already on its way. The ego feeds on comparison during the waiting. It looks at others and says, why them? Why not me? But comparison is the thief of spiritual alignment. You do not know the curriculum of another soul. You do not see the lessons they have chosen, nor the timing of their unfoldment. Your path is uniquely designed for your growth. The flower does not envy the tree. The river does not resent the mountain. Each fulfills its purpose in its own time, and so will you. Trust is not passive. It is active surrender. It is choosing faith in the face of uncertainty. It is affirming, I am guided. I am supported. I am exactly where I need to be. These are not empty words. They are declarations of alignment. When you repeat them, you shift your energy from scarcity to abundance. You move from fear to love. And love is the highest vibration. Love trusts. Love allows. Love believes in unseen possibilities. The waiting often strips away illusions. It reveals attachments you did not realize you had. It exposes the ego's need for validation. And in that exposure, you are given the opportunity to heal. If you can find peace before the blessing arrives, then the blessing will no longer define you. It will simply enhance what is already whole within you. This is the great secret. You are not waiting to become enough. You are already enough. What you desire is not meant to complete you. It is meant to express through you. When impatience arises, observe it without judgment. Say to yourself, there is my ego seeking control. And then return to your breath. Return to the present moment. The present moment is the only place God can meet you. Not in the imagined future, not in the replayed past, but here, now. This breath is sacred. This heartbeat is sacred. This moment of waiting is sacred. What if the waiting is where you learn to hear your soul most clearly? What if the pause is preparing you for a reality far greater than the one you are currently imagining? The caterpillar must remain in the cocoon longer than it would prefer. But if it forced its way out too soon, its wings would not be strong enough to carry it. Your waiting is strengthening your wings. Trust God with your waiting. Surrender it to Him. Not because you are powerless, but because you recognize the greater power within and around you. The same intelligence that beats your heart without your effort is capable of orchestrating your destiny without your anxiety. Let go of the illusion that you must figure it all out. You are not the architect of the universe. You are a participant in its magnificence. And in this participation, you are invited to embody faith. Faith is not blind belief. It is inner knowing. It is the quiet certainty that even when the path is unclear, you are being led. Each delay, each detour, each closed door is redirecting you towards something aligned with your highest good. The ego calls it setback. The soul calls it guidance. When you surrender your waiting, you reclaim your peace. You stop bargaining with the future. You stop resisting the present. You begin to live as if what you seek is already seeking you. Because it is, the universe is not conspiring against you. It is conspiring for you. Every unseen movement is aligning circumstances in your favor. Say it softly within yourself. I trust the timing of my life. I trust the wisdom of the divine. I trust that what is meant for me cannot miss me. Feel the energy of those words. They are not hopeful wishes. They are statements of spiritual law. What aligns with your soul will find its way to you. And what passes you by was never part of your highest path. In the waiting, you discover who you truly are. Not a fearful mind scrambling for control, but an eternal being anchored in faith. Not a victim of delayed outcomes, but a co-creator aligned with divine order. The waiting is not empty space. It is holy ground. It is where trust is born. It is where surrender deepens. It is where your identity shifts from ego to essence. So breathe. Release your grip. Let the timeline dissolve. Allow the mystery to unfold. You do not need to see the entire staircase to take the next step. You only need to trust that the step beneath your foot is secure. And it is. You are guided. You are supported. You are loved beyond measure. Trust God with your waiting. Surrender it to Him. In that surrender, you will find not delay, but peace. Not absence, but presence. Not emptiness, but quiet transformation. And one day, you will look back at this season of waiting and realize it was never a void. It was the sacred space where your faith became unshakable, where your heart expanded, where your soul remembered its eternal connection to the source of all things. And in that remembrance, you will smile gently, knowing that the waiting was never about the arrival, it was about awakening. And as you remain in that awakening, something subtle begins to change within you. The urgency that once tightened your chest begins to soften. The restless questioning of when slowly dissolves into the sacred inquiry of who am I becoming through this? And that question, that gentle redirection inward, is where the miracle truly begins. Because the divine is never as concerned with the arrival of your desire as it is with the evolution of your consciousness. You see, every season of apparent delay is shaping the container that will hold your blessing. If the vessel is fragile, the gift would shatter it. If the heart is unprepared, the opportunity would overwhelm it. So life, in its infinite wisdom, refines you quietly. It sands down the rough edges of fear. It dissolves the arrogance of self-will. It loosens the grip of attachment. And what remains is a being more spacious, more surrendered, more capable of receiving without clinging. There is a profound difference between waiting with resistance and waiting with reverence. Resistance feels like standing in a storm, shouting at the sky. Reverence feels like standing beneath that same sky, knowing the clouds are temporary. When you resist, you contract. When you revere the process, you expand. And expansion is the natural movement of the soul. The oak tree does not resent the winter that strips its leaves. It knows that beneath the frozen surface, life is reorganizing itself for spring. So too is your life reorganizing itself beneath appearances. The ego demands visible progress. It measures worth by milestones. It calculates success by speed. But the soul understands that transformation often happens in invisibility. A child in the womb does not announce its development day by day, yet in that hidden sanctuary, entire systems are forming, bones are strengthening. A heartbeat is establishing rhythm. In silence, life is preparing itself for emergence. Can you trust that something just as intricate is forming within you? What if the very stillness you are experiencing is calibrating you to a higher frequency? What if you are being tuned like a finely crafted instrument so that when the symphony of your next chapter begins, you resonate perfectly with it? Impatience would rush the melody, fear would distort the notes, but surrender allows harmony, and harmony is the language of the divine. When you release your insistence on outcomes, you begin to notice the quiet gifts hidden in the present. You notice the softness of morning light touching your face. You notice the rhythm of your breath rising and falling like gentle waves. You notice that you are alive in this moment, sustained by a force you did not create and cannot control. That awareness alone is enough to dissolve anxiety. For if the same power that animates your breath has carried you this far, why would it abandon you now? There is an ancient truth whispered across spiritual traditions, that what you seek is seeking you. Not in desperation, not in lack, but in divine reciprocity. The longing in your heart is evidence of alignment, not deficiency. The desire was planted within you for a reason, but it is not meant to be pursued with tension. It is meant to be allowed with trust. Like a magnet drawing iron filings, your alignment will attract what matches your vibration. When you dwell in faith, you become a field of attraction for grace. And yet, sometimes the waiting feels heavy. There are nights when doubt creeps in like a shadow at the edge of your awareness. In those moments, do not fight the shadow. Simply turn toward the light within. The shadow has no substance of its own. It is only the absence of illumination. Bring awareness to your thoughts. Ask gently, is this thought rooted in love or fear? If it is fear, let it pass like a cloud, drifting across the vast sky of your consciousness. You are the sky, not the cloud. The sky is never harmed by passing weather. When you identify with the sky-like nature of your being, you realize that circumstances are temporary visitors. They come and go. They shift and change. But the essence of who you are remains steady, expansive, untouched. From that vantage point, waiting loses its sting. It becomes simply another experience moving through the infinite awareness that you are. Trust deepens when you recognize that you are not navigating this life alone. There is an intelligence woven into every atom of existence, coordinating events beyond your comprehension. What appears as coincidence is often quiet orchestration. A missed opportunity redirects you to a more aligned path. A closed door nudges you toward a hidden entrance. What you interpret as delay may actually be protection. And protection, though sometimes disguised, is an expression of love. The mind may argue, but I have been patient. I have believed. Why has nothing changed? And here is where spiritual maturity blossoms. Faith is not transactional. It is not a bargaining chip exchanged for outcomes. Faith is a state of being. It is the unwavering recognition that your life is guided regardless of external evidence. When you anchor into that recognition, you no longer measure progress by visible results. You measure it by inner peace. And inner peace is the greatest wealth you will ever possess. It cannot be taken from you unless you relinquish it. It does not depend on circumstances aligning perfectly. It arises from alignment with your true nature. When you are at peace in the present, you are already living in abundance. The future becomes a continuation of that abundance, not a remedy for lack. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast field at dawn. The horizon stretches endlessly before you. You cannot see every path, every curve of the terrain, every hidden valley. But you trust that as you step forward, the ground will meet your feet. You do not demand a complete map. You move with quiet assurance. That is what it means to surrender your waiting. It is stepping forward without complete visibility, guided by an inner compass that never fails. The ego fears uncertainty because it equates uncertainty with danger. But uncertainty is the birthplace of possibility. If everything were predetermined in visible form, there would be no room for miracles. The unknown is not your enemy. It is the canvas upon which grace paints its masterpieces. And your willingness to remain open within the unknown invites those masterpieces into your life. Let your waiting become a sacred partnership with the divine. Instead of asking, why is this taking so long, ask, what is this teaching me about trust? Instead of pleading for acceleration, inquire, how can I embody gratitude right now? Gratitude is the bridge between present awareness and future fulfillment. When you are grateful before the manifestation, you demonstrate faith in its inevitability. There is a profound liberation in releasing the need to predict. You are freed from the exhausting task of micromanaging destiny. You are freed from the tension of comparing timelines. You are freed from the illusion that your worth is tied to speed. In that freedom, creativity awakens. Joy returns. You begin to live not in anticipation of life, but in participation with it. And as you continue to surrender, you may notice a gentle paradox. The more you let go, the more life flows toward you effortlessly. Opportunities arise without force. Connections deepen without manipulation. Solutions appear without strain. This is not coincidence. It is the natural result of alignment. When you are no longer pushing against the current, you move with it. And the current of the divine is always moving toward expansion, toward love, toward growth. Trusting God with your waiting does not mean you become passive. It means you act from inspiration rather than desperation. You take steps guided by intuition rather than fear. You follow nudges that feel expansive rather than urgent. Inspiration carries a sense of calm certainty. Desperation carries tension. Learn to discern the difference. Your soul speaks softly, but its guidance is unwavering. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked by the universe. You are unfolding. And unfolding cannot be rushed. A flower forced open before its time would tear its own petals. But given the right conditions, it opens effortlessly, revealing beauty that was always encoded within it. In the same way, your life is blossoming according to a rhythm far wiser than your impatience. Allow yourself to rest in that rhythm. Let your breath anchor you to this sacred now. Let your heart soften into trust. You are held by something vast and benevolent. The waiting is not an empty corridor leading nowhere. It is a sacred chamber where your faith is refined, your vision clarified, your spirit strengthened. And as you continue walking this path of surrender, you will begin to sense a quiet joy rising from within, a joy not dependent on outcomes, not tethered to timelines, but rooted in connection. Connection to source, connection to purpose, connection to the infinite intelligence that has never once ceased guiding you. In that connection, you discover that the true gift was never the thing you were waiting for. The true gift is the awareness that you are eternally supported, eternally guided, eternally loved. And from that awareness, you step forward, not anxious for what comes next, but confident that whatever unfolds will be precisely what your soul requires. So rest in trust, walk in quiet faith. Let your waiting be an altar upon which you lay your fears and reclaim your freedom. For in surrendering your timeline, you have aligned yourself with eternity. And eternity has always been on your side. And as you continue to soften into this sacred alignment, something luminous begins to awaken in the quiet spaces of your being. It is not dramatic. It does not announce itself with thunder or spectacle. It arrives gently, like dawn spreading light across a dark horizon. You begin to sense that you are not suspended in delay, you are suspended in divine intelligence. You are not paused, you are positioned. There is a difference. To be paused feels powerless. To be positioned is purposeful. When you understand that every apparent standstill is actually placement, your entire inner landscape changes. The waiting is no longer a hallway of uncertainty. It becomes a sanctuary of preparation. You are being placed where your next evolution can take root. You are being aligned with circumstances that match the frequency of your expanding awareness. The ego trembles when it cannot see movement. It interprets invisibility as absence. But the most powerful forces in existence are unseen. You cannot see gravity, yet it holds galaxies in place. You cannot see love, yet it transforms human hearts. You cannot see the breath entering your lungs, yet it sustains your life with unwavering loyalty. Why then would you require visible proof that God is moving in your life? What if the waiting is the invisible gravity aligning your destiny? Imagine the ocean again, vast and boundless. On its surface, storms may rage, ships may struggle, waves may crash against one another with chaotic intensity. But deep beneath, there is a current, ancient, steady, purposeful. That current moves with intelligence far beyond the turbulence of